retail sector. Listen to this. The customer in front of me had wrapped his golf around a tree and spoke to me in riddles, in liddles. Stalked still the aisles with aspect grim, stout matrons, hale of hip and limb, with nothing round their middles, in liddles. I saw emblazoned on a tray a place where blithe crustaceans play, in sub-aquatic iddles, in liddles. And then there's one rather longer, which I might come back to. I'll read this one. We'll have a break in a minute. This is a poem about the sea. It's also a poem about philosophers. There's a chap I used to often share a room with on tour. He was a very keen sailor. And he was also... he was very interested in philosophy, and he was always on about Wittgenstein. Now, I don't understand any of that stuff, and I don't actually think he did either. And then, subsequently, it seems that Bertrand Russell wasn't sure that Wittgenstein knew what he was talking about either. So I got all these people and their shibboleths, and I put them on a 19th century voyage to see what happened. Captain Plato, he whipped out his eye and buffed it up on an empty sleeve. Lads, we durst not reason why. Our lot is merely to perceive. I'll drink to that, cries Boatswain Bill. I'll sail the 7 seas and more. And as to the terms, why, sure I will. Let things be as they was before. Captain Plato, he paced the deck with a stiff martini and a matching neck. How lies the land? Came the gruff reply. I suppose about as usual. Why? St Elmo's fire on the Southern Cross, 6 pen'orth nails for the albatross. The sea was here before we came, and shall be after, much the same. Up in the crow's nest, Boatswain Bill had all too clearly drunk his fill. When the ship rolls, the drunkard will fall, and down will come constructs, boatswain and all. The lads was grouped before the mast when Boatswain Bill come whistling past. It stopped the conversation quite when Boatswain Bill slid out of sight. That evening in the forecastle mess, the mood was one of frank distress, of pies untouched, of bitter beer, and would that Boatswain Bill were here. A toast, cries Pegleg Jake, duality, lest we forget. And as for Bill, the brine will make an honest monist of him yet. What, are ye mad? The captain cries. Do full-grown men sport weeping eyes? I should have thought there's salt enough, and such like tedious moral stuff. Captain Plato, he bade them good night, and he paced the deck till the morning light. He cursed his luck, he cursed the purser, he cursed the crew, and vice versa. Pegleg Jake, he slapped his thigh and tapped his nose and winked his eye and swore and muttered, well I'll be. And stranger things occurrence. The captain's premise, which no doubt he needs to keep the demons out, is false. To pander to the bloke is quite beyond this heart of oak. The cabin boy, he piped his eye and often thought of Ross on wine. Though he understood not a single bit, still he knew no good could come of it. Reeking of coal tar, blubber and musk, old Zebedee carved on a narwhal tusk, and laying aside his grandsires knife says, I never heard such rot in my life. What ye propose, croaked Zebedee, is little short of mutiny. Should Plato hear of such a plan, he'd have us keel-hauled, boy and man. Poltroon, cries Jake, I say that cat, for captain this and captain that. There's them as will, and there's them as won't. And as for the terms, why, sure I don't. Captain Plato, he wrote in his log, Tuesday, choppy, sick as a dog, diarrhea and stomachache, and memo, keel-haul peg-leg Jake. Peg-leg Jake was hanged and flogged, dry roasted, peeled and waterlogged, keel-hauled, shot, and made to walk the plank, and still he would not talk. But did he have a final wish before they fed him to the fish? A quid of baccy for a farewell chew? A chance to state his point of view? Peg-leg Jake, he chawed a while, and he winked and smiled a wicked smile. All eyes were fixed upon his face. The world is all that is the case. Right now things do look pretty grim, the more so as I cannot swim. So it's farewell, lads, for the sails are furled, and I'm up to here with your ideal world. The captain, he knew what he had to do. He whipped out his cutlass and he ran Jake through, and even as he breathed his last, Jake tapped his nose and groaned, avast. Now all was quiet in the forecastle head, where nothing was eaten and less was said. The cabin boy, oh, he took it bad, but he took to his bed like a sensible lad. In tavern talk, I've heard them say that Jake lived on as a castaway. Old sea dogs tell the story still of Peg-leg Jake and Boatswain Bill. How they dug latrines in a waking dream, planted the pips from a washed-up apple. They fashioned a pump which worked by steam. They built a Unitarian chapel. They pioneered the style now known as the English perpendicular and worked their fingers to the bone for no one in particular. Yet these are tales a little more, the sort that tars are famous for. Full fathom 5 lie Jake and Bill, give a foot or two. On the windowsill of a boarding house in Bideford Bay lies Jake's peg leg, or so they say. For Jake was your man for the life at sea, and Bill a boatswain's boatswain he. Say, tosses in his hammock still, the ghastly wraith of Boatswain Bill. Peg-leg Jake on a winter's night thumps on the shutters of the Bass Rock Light, lets his ghostly corpus in and quaffs the sleeping keeper's gin. When the days draw in and the nights grow cold, a ghostly voice is heard in the hold. Are we but supper for fishes and worms, the spectre cries, define your terms.